Today I'm joined by Pavel Konan of DealScope. Welcome to the show, Pavel.
Thank you for having me here, Scott.
I'm looking forward to sharing your story about your new Salesforce application, DealScope. So let's jump right into it. Maybe you could share a little bit of your background, how you got into Salesforce, and then transition to DealScope specifically. I'd love to learn about who the app is built for, what problems
hmm
it solves,
hmm
etc.
Sure. Thank you. So I'm originally from the tech. I have a tech education, and during the years I was working as a developer, mainly Java developer, JavaScript things, and 5 years before that, I decided to join the Salesforce community. That's how I moved to this sphere of technological, like how to say, domain. And during last 5 years, I was developing like different things for clients in Salesforce. And just very recently, I decided, based on my experience, based on what clients are constantly asking, I decided to create the DealScope. So this is very like simple but powerful AI layer on top of leads, opportunities, or accounts. You can like drag and drop it, and it will show you 5-line summary of your, for instance, lead to quickly understand what's going on here. So it shows you 5-line summary. It shows you few buying signals, some risks, and draft email. And it's very like important that it always refer to some particular things when it generates these buying signals, for instance, because from my experience, it was always the hassle when you have, so when you work with real leads or of opportunities, it takes you like numerous touches, like almost never like sell closes after like one touch. It happens after like 10 touches. Maybe it was started not even by you. It was started by some other representative. And when someone hands you over those leads, you are completely like confused. You don't know what's going on there. You need to like click through all activities, all 20 of them, trying to understand what was going on. And my deal scope tool, it just quickly from the scratch, it shows you what was going on here, what's the next best action, and it already generates you the ready to go email. So this is like the story of deal scope.
This sounds like a great use of AI, and I love. It's funny. As long as I've been working in Salesforce, I've never really fully appreciated that transition, which of course takes place all the time. Of one sales rep, for one reason or another, passing on an open opportunity to another, and then it's kind of like starting from scratch, unless you have something like DealScope installed. Okay, so I want
Absolutely.
to double click on this. So you're if I heard correctly, you've been in the ecosystem for 5 years now. So you joined kind of during lockdown time during COVID. Is that about right? They started
Yeah,
working
yeah.
in the Salesforce space.
Yes,
Very
yes.
interesting time to get started because then right on the heels of that, the release of ChatGPT and AI starting to kind of eat the world, and so
hmm
it makes sense that you'd be working on an AI focused app. So you were working on a lot of consulting projects,
Yes,
and you said
a
that
lot of.
folks were kind of asking for something similar to DealScope, and you decided to
Yeah,
build it.
yeah. And they were my first clients. And people who were asking to get this thing for them, because I knew their like requests. I knew that what they wanted to have, and that's why I have created deal scope first for them, second for me, because right now I'm using deal scope for my own outreach to to like speak with my leads and opportunities. And third, yes, it's for wide audience. I believe it's very helpful tool, and it's very easy to be onboarded with it. You don't need to like crazy setup, a lot of admin work. You just drag it and it adds you a value right from the second one.
I I love apps where you can kind of drink your own champagne and use the application itself in order to sell the application. So it's very cool. I was curious
Yeah.
if you use DealScope. Makes sense that you do. Um, okay, so this sounds like you kind of had the holy grail scenario because you said you had some consulting clients asking for this, you built it
Yeah,
for them, they became your first client. So it sounds like
yeah.
you were basically paid to build out your MVP.
uh, I would not say this, but it's beneficial because you sometimes people they try to invent something based on their like perception of things. If you, they cannot be even in domain, but they like think that they it might be an issue within that
Hmm.
domain. So I had a, like I have an experience within this domain. I have real requests. That's like that's a lot. That's invaluable. That's better than somebody will pay me to create this app.
Yes. Yeah. And well, and you're using it yourself, like we were just talking about. So you're able to pinpoint what like some of the friction in the application
Yeah,
as you use it as a user,
yeah.
not just the
I use
builder.
it every day.
Yeah. Okay, so that's very cool. So then how many initial clients did you have then? You said you had a few folks asking for this. So right out of the gate you had
Mhm.
a few clients?
I have started with 3 clients
Okay, very cool.
using
And
it, and then I have started to add more. So I am like only on the beginning of this road. So it's maybe it, I have started working on this project 1.5 months before. So my story may be very interested for those guys who are just thinking, should I start something like by my own, some own product or not, because I already passed this barrier, because it's always like very difficult to start. Someone
yes.
can like later call you a loser. Some folks I know that they're afraid to start something because they think that huge corporation or like some other tricky guys will steal their idea and or Salesforce will create something like that. But actually, from my experience, like all ideas, they have negative cost. So if you have an idea, it costs like minus approximately 50,000 because you need to spend at least like 50,000 to make it to like develop it to some tier, you know.
It's
So you should
it's
never
easy.
like yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, don't give up before you've even tried, right?
Yes, absolutely.
But it's easy to do that. It always seems like there's a million reasons not to go after something, and you get that self-doubt and that fear talking in the back of your mind. So that's great.
Yes,
One and a
you
half
should
months. I knew
always
you were early in your journey, but I didn't know it was that early. That's awesome.
you should try. And for instance, I'm the very good resource right now for those guys who are just starting. Because when you're going to like ask somebody of what to do next, so for instance, I'm like very small company right now. I will not go for advice to some enterprise folks because they are way ahead of me. They can give me a lot of advice, but they will not be usable. I need to like speak with people who has like hundreds of clients, for instance, to get
Yes,
to
it's always.
their level.
I,
Yeah.
I always think it's good to find mentorship from folks that are a little further in the journey than you, but maybe not too far, right? I
Yes,
mean,
absolutely.
I think a lot of
Because
people love to get.
they remember this.
Yes,
It was
exactly,
so
and
recent
also,
for them.
I mean, think about how different. Yeah, you know, a lot of people look at some huge companies and want to get advice from the founders of
Yeah.
those companies, but it's like you know, you can imagine how different it was in the early days of Salesforce when
Yes.
Benioff and Parker Harris were getting
Yeah,
started in
it can be
1999.
like
It's a
still
very
been
different
some
world.
motivation for you, but it's not applicable at this moment.
Yeah. Yeah, things change and you want to find someone who's just a little bit further along in the journey than you.
Yes.
So that's great. I'm
Yes.
glad to hear about this. Okay, so silly question because you're a month and a half in, so but I just want to make sure. So, uh at the moment I assume you're a one man show, one man operation.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
now,
how are you managing?
yes, right now it's totally possible. Right now with all these AI tools, you can absolutely easily like start your own business, because before that you need to like invest a lot of your
Mhm.
time, a lot of like money to hire developers to help you. Now you don't need to be a developer. This is my advantage, of course, that I am a good developer. I have this huge background, technological, so it helps me a lot. But on the other hand, I'm not very good in sales. That's why I'm finding your podcast very helpful to me because
Good.
I can learn from your guests.
Good, good. Yes,
So
that's the goal.
what was you asking? How do I manage what?
Just how do you manage wearing all these different hats yourself? It sounds like basically you're leaning into AI, which makes sense given you have an AI focused application. Um, so you're
But still,
using it for
you need to be how to say. Sometimes it's dangerous to rely on AI. It can like lead you to totally wrong direction. Sometimes it's like too much supportable. Oh, that's yeah, like ChatGPT can say, "Oh, that's great idea. Let's dig deeper into this. Let's keep moving to this direction. Oh, you are so great. That
yeah,
I didn't thought about this. Let's Pavel, you're like so smart. Let's like create something based on this idea." And you'll spend months, months and months digging into wrong direction with this support from this invisible guy who is kind of ChatGPT. So you need
yes,
to still close your shut off your internet and think through all this stuff. And of course, the most important thing is to talk with real people, not with ChatGPT.
sure.
Because yeah,
It
go
can
ahead.
definitely be too much of a cheerleader sometimes, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, so you started out of the gate in a much better spot than I think a lot of folks because you have instant clients. Um, I'm curious though, now that you've moved beyond that, you've been signing more folks.
Mhm.
Did you have to do any sort of validation of the idea, or immediately people are just like, "Yep, sign me up. I get it. I get the advantage of this, and definitely needed." Or were there any surprises going from realizing, "Hey, I had these 3 early day
Mhm.
clients that wanted it a certain way, and now I'm realizing the market at large needs something a little different." I'm curious how much
Yeah.
you've had to tweak.
Mm, Yeah, you're right. So, as any founder, I was like beloved with my idea. So I thought, like after it will be launched, like I won't be able to stop this crowd who want to buy my product. But
Mhm.
it was like totally different. I like after that I had zero intentions from people to purchase this product. So after that I had to like conduct a series of customer development interviews. Do you know what is it?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's great.
so
A lot of folks wanna skip that step.
and it's difficult to conduct these interviews because the main idea of these interviews is to not uncover what are you talking about, at least like during the first part of the interview. But it's so like you all but when you hear that people miss your product right from the beginning, they have troubles that my product solves. You has like very strong intention. Oh yeah, you need to DealScope here. But yeah, I had to conduct those interviews. They were paid. I have found first guys on the Upwork. I post a job post with that I am going to conduct an interview, not uncovering what will it about. I was just looking for guys who are Salesforce administrators, at least. Um, so I really wanted to hear from them what issues do they faced with, what like requests do they have from their clients. So I have conducted those interviews. I pivoted a little bit my product, and after that, it went better. And also, it's very good. Now I also discovered this that you can also rely for support in the community. A lot of
Mm.
folks who also develop their apps, really they really want to help you if you ask. So we did cross review of our own products for free
That
with
is so
such
cool.
guys.
where are you? What medium are you chatting with these other folks in the community on LinkedIn, or are you in like the Trailblazer community groups, or where are you
Yeah,
finding?
partially in the LinkedIn, partially in the Slack. Uh, it's called Ohana Salesforce, kind of this, you know?
Well, yes, I'm familiar with that Slack workspace. That's a
Yeah,
great spot, and Salesforce has granted them a free tier, I think, for all. So there's a lot of good stuff in there
yeah.
to go back and review for new ISV founders. So that is so cool. So I've heard we had a recent guest that talked about a a partner they were using for giving demos to potential leads, and it was basically
Hmm.
a paid demo.
Hmm.
But I hadn't heard of what you were doing, paid customer development interviews, and
Hmm.
you were just doing it on Upwork. That's a really cool idea. I'm curious if you're willing to share about on average how much you were having to pay per interview and how many of those you did.
So it was in between 45 and 75 per interview. So mostly it was 45 because it's like nothing special. You don't need to like put a lot of your efforts. You just generally like speaking with me and share your experience as an expert in your domain. It's even pleasant for some guys
Hmm.
to show their
That is
expertise.
such a great idea, Pavel. I'd never thought about just going to Upwork for that, but that's a great idea. And then I'm curious, when you would go on these interviews, were kind of keeping your cards close to the chest and
Yes,
really
yes,
just
yes.
being a fly on the wall rather than like mentioning DealScope and mentioning you
No, no,
have an
no.
app. It was all just learning and intake. Is that right?
Yeah, it was like it was hourly interviews, like 45 minutes of questions about what they are doing at their like positions, and last 15 minutes it was like 5-minute demo and 10 minutes collecting the feedback, like collecting the feedback in the way like what did they like the most on, or how will they talk about deal scope to their colleagues, because I can use those phrases to optimize for search engine later. You know,
Mm, very cool. Okay, so SEO sounds like is a big part of your strategy for generating more
it's
leads and
it's
doing
long
outbound.
time strategy, not short time.
Yes.
But anyway, I will not. I'm not going like. I will not be able to return to that moment, so I have asked those questions during the interview. It will shoot later, but not, I need now those answers about
Yeah.
how people will talk about deal scope to their colleagues, because that's how they will look for such solution.
That makes sense. That's very good. It's tough to play a long game like SEO, but it's super important. And I know some people are saying with AI, it's not what it once was, but uh, the AI engine is being, I feel that SEO helps with optimization for the AI algorithms too, right?
Yes,
So
of
they're
course.
all going to be trained
Yes,
on it.
yes,
So it's kind of the same tactics are helpful,
yes.
whether it's a Google search or whether it's a conversation with ChatGPT where people
Anyway,
find
when
you.
you like when you're in conversation with ChatGPT, it use also searches. Like first, it like goes to the model knowledge, and second, it's like executes number of searches using even like Google search, other search engines to find some information, collect it together, and represent it to you in well get format.
Hmm. Yep. Totally makes sense. So, okay, it's early days. Right
Yeah,
now, I believe you're not listed on the App Exchange. Um,
not yet. I'm in the
is that
process.
you are in
It's
the process? Okay.
it's very long way,
Yes.
as I understood.
Yep. Um, I know that that would probably be a boost, having that stamp of approval from their security review, but it is
Hmm.
certainly not a short process. So in the meantime, I'm curious what channels you're using to generate leads at the moment. We talked about SEO, but as we also mentioned, that's clearly a long game. So, um, what other channels are you leveraging?
It's also LinkedIn. Right now, it's mostly LinkedIn. I have tried to play with Google AdWords without any like good results right now, but maybe it was too early. So now I'm using LinkedIn, and it looks pretty good. As for now, I would say I'm not sure about other channels to use. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just in the process of
Yeah.
doing this. Too much things to couple with.
Well, one thing, so I first honestly came across DealScope
Hmm.
because you were interviewed in a recent Salesforce Ben article,
Yeah, yeah,
which that helps get a lot of eyeballs on you and the app as well. But
yeah.
moreover, I know that what you were discussing
Hmm.
in that article
Hmm.
was about how Salesforce is starting to build some native AI functionality into their application that competes with DealScope. So I wanted for folks who maybe that haven't seen the article yet. I was curious if you could go a little deeper into how that came about and how you've been approaching that, because that can be a daunting thing
Yeah,
for a new founder to come across.
yeah, sure. So it was very like shocking for me story. So I was in the middle of the meeting with the next lead. I was showing my deal scope, and he, after like those that demo, he told me like, "What about the Salesforce feature that they just launched?" I was, "What?" I was like totally not aware about this, and I was not prepared. I was not able to answer anything like consistent about that. So later, I went to check what the Salesforce launched. Yes, now in free tier they have this summary panel. It's in free tier. It's in all tiers, in all their plans, free or paid. Um, so I had to investigate this panel, but it looks like right now it's we had like different intentions, me and
Mm,
Salesforce. I had an intention to provide some value for uh, future customers and current customers. They had an intention to probably say that we now have an AI, because comparing our products, they're not equal right now. Of course, they can like go after me and create all what I have, but I will just try to be few steps ahead of them all the way. And also what I'm working on, I'm working to make some things which Salesforce will never do actually, because it's like against their principles, against their policies. So I am creating different integrations. For instance, with LinkedIn, I can like copy all LinkedIn dialogues into DealScope, and it will create from them beautiful activity timeline records that you can also
mm,
use uh, after that. So, and it works with any LinkedIn dialogue. So in LinkedIn you have these time marks like it was Friday, tomorrow, and my engine converts this into solid blocks of information, like day by day with a summary for each block, and DealScope plugin consumes this data to provide the whole summary for some record. So I'm going to different integrations. I have it with LinkedIn, HubSpot. Recently, I have also added voice enter of information. And yeah, right now, my product is much better. So they have product for the checkbox. I'm not saying that it's bad. Some people will also like get some advantage of it because it's already installed. They also have an advantage over me because my my package needs to be installed.
sure.
There is already there, and my, for instance, it when you open some lead, you already have this beautiful summary from DealScope. When you open some lead with that summary from Salesforce, every time you need to click generate summary, every time you need to wait for something. And right now it works only like on the first level of information. It only summarizes you some data from the record, from the lead, for instance. But
Hmm.
what can you summarize from the lead? Like, do you need the summary of address or name? What? And yeah, it just shows you that you had like 15 activities with this lead. When deal scope, it goes like very deep. It analyzes all activities to provide you with real proofs that these signal is based on that call to that lead or that LinkedIn message or that meeting that you conducted. So it's much more deeper and much more helpful, I hope.
You bring up a very good point that no matter how big or small your business is, focus is extremely important, right? And I, being a one man operation currently, at least with DealScope, you clearly have a lot
Okay.
more focus on this
Yeah.
problem space than Salesforce possibly can because they need to be working on so many other things, such as
Mm.
building out
Of
the
course.
Agent Force engine and all the other different
Yeah.
clouds that they have working on, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense that they might have something that kind of checks a box, but it doesn't necessarily mean a founder out there should throw in the towel because you can continue
Mm.
to improve. And these
But
integrations you're working on sounds
mm,
very cool. I mean, I imagine you can summarize data that's in Salesforce. You can also enter into like a data enrichment space, probably, right? Where
yeah.
you're getting out some info that's not necessarily in
Mhm.
Salesforce just yet.
Yeah.
You already mentioned kind of doing that with LinkedIn, but
Yeah.
perhaps even maybe you have someone's first name and last name, but in their email, but maybe you don't know, um, you know, their prior company or their history, and that could be useful to know that they worked at an organization that already
Yeah.
had deal scope, right? So that's the
Yeah.
kind of stuff that could help for you selling deal
Mm.
scope to that new company.
And also, what I wanted to add, so first time I have heard about what Salesforce launched, I truly had an intention to just close my laptop and went for vacation because I thought it's like uh, the end.
Yeah,
But after that, I like rethink through this, and I really appreciate what Salesforce did because they're a great company, and I work in their ecosystem. I'm not saying that they like create some bad products. They create great products, and many people use them. And what they did, they created really like good proof of what I'm doing. Because sometimes you can like work on these products which nobody wants at the end. So, and what Salesforce did, they provide me with some motivation. If they created this means that like people were so eager to get it, so they had to launch it in some way.
right.
That's why I'm very like happy about this, and it also will help to onboard people because they will see that okay, now Salesforce has this summarization panel. It's not maybe like ideal, so maybe we can have some better solution. They're now more familiar with this because maybe many people I can assume they're afraid of modern stuff like AI. They're still on Aura components, maybe with uh, some legacy companies. So
Yeah, these
that's
things
good.
hang around for so there's
Yeah.
definitely a lot of aura out there for sure. Um, yeah, that you make up a good point. So I know that a lot of I've heard advice before that a lot of founders in the early days of having an idea will go do basically just do a Google search. These days, maybe chat with AI, but and see what all is out there. And if they see an existing company already
Hmm.
working on their idea,
Hmm.
they say, "Oh, well, then I guess that's that." When in reality, it's a gift. To your point about what Salesforce has done, because it's just proven it's validated that the market is there.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
proven that there are folks out there that want it, because that is the worst case scenario: is you toil away in the lab. Uh, Forever on an idea that at the end you build a product that nobody even wants.
Yeah.
Um,
Or
so
timing can be bad. It's always like product is wrong or timing is wrong because it can be like good product in the wrong time. So now
mhm,
everything like crossed together. It's good time with validated idea. So I have very good feelings about future of the deal scope.
nice. So I was looking into DealScope before we chatted, and I noticed that you run a freemium model.
Yeah, yeah,
So my understanding is you get 1,000 free summaries before then you need a paid plan.
yes.
I'm curious if you could share a little bit about how that works. So, um, are you handling all the integration with AI models in your own infrastructure,
Mhm.
or are you having folks enter in their own API keys for
Uh,
OpenAI or whatever their favorite flavor model is?
right now, I decided to make it very simple to not like complicate it with entering their own key, so they don't need to think about anything. Just drag this component and it will work. If later on someone will ask me that we cannot live without our own models, I can do something about this. So right now it works with my model, and one like huge and important step that I did, I absolutely like maybe 95% replicated the Salesforce trust layer to make it
Mm.
better looking from security perspective. So I'm uh, pulling all personal data, all emails, phones. So all this data, it stays within Salesforce. What I'm sending to my engine is only this metadata that we need to process to create good summary, and then it returns to Salesforce, and I inject this personal information back. So it never leaves Salesforce. I spent some time trying to understand how Salesforce do this, and I did the same within DealScope. So it
That is
was
something I was gonna ask you about that too. I did notice that you built your own trust layer to remove,
yes,
PII, so very smart.
yeah, and from them. So and you have like 1,000 summaries, uh, and that's a lot. That's actually a lot because when you use this native Salesforce summary panel, you need to generate summary every time. Every time you like want to see it because it's not there after page refresh. With DealScope, you generate it once, and next time it will be generated automatically if you change something within the lead, or it will stay without need to be regenerated. So this 1,000 should be enough in small company for few months at least. Maybe for
Oh,
someone it will work for 1 year.
yes. I mean, it sounds like you're providing a lot of value upfront on day one, which I think
Yes.
is very helpful for making a product, long term. I imagine at the moment you have a decent number of folks on the free tier, and to your point, it might take some time, but I'm sure once
Yes.
the day comes where their summaries are gonna
Mhm.
stop, they're gonna come knocking your door asking
Yeah, absolutely.
if
I
if
like.
you will take their money.
Hmm? I don't want. I like this idea. I don't want like to push users um, to paid plans. Like sometimes you have like 7 days trials, 14
Mhm.
days trials. You need to have the trial as long as people is like your client will understand the value absolutely and will not
Mhm.
imagine his life without this product. So that's why I decided to like move uh, in this way without time limits. You don't have any time limits. You have 1,000 summaries.
That's amazing, and honestly, and that's not been obviously that since you're managing everything, you made the onboarding so easy. Um, you're covering the cost of those 1,000 summaries, um, from with your own, API usage of your different LLM models, so it's definitely very generous tier. You're more generous than a lot of ISVs out there, I would say.
I don't know why do like they so eager to not share to not like share these credits because in Salesforce it's very like expensive to pay for agent force credits. It's
Mhm.
and it's of course it's better than like involving real persons, but still it's expensive compared to real costs of these credits for the company.
Mhm.
So that's why I decided to not be very eager there and just share those credits to provide people with value. And after that, I hope that people will love this product and will pay this $49 for organization. That's not a lot.
No, yeah, your pricing is very appealing as well, I would say, to a lot of organizations because it's just by the org, right? It's not even
Yes,
user
by the
base,
work,
if I
by the
understand
work,
correctly.
by the work. and this is because I mostly pointing to small and medium-sized companies. I don't
Mhm.
have hope to sell this to some enterprises because it's probably not possible from the technical or some how to say some perspective of them not willing to share data with third-party services. So it's I don't have this hope to sell it to some enterprises. This product is to help small and medium-sized businesses, and it's make it well.
Yes. So, and well, small, medium-sized businesses, but I'm curious also, given it's such a horizontal application that would work in pretty much any industry, um, have you seen a specific focus from any one industry, or how are you managing your like your outreach, basically? Because sometimes it can be difficult when you work for everyone.
Yeah, yeah, you're
It's
absolutely
hard
right.
to
You're
focus
absolutely
on.
right. You need to focus right now. I don't have this focus. I'm trying to understand who will benefit the most, and I'm trying to I don't know because people they are also asking me for features. Right now, I'm only covering accounts, leads, and opportunities. Now people they ask me to also cover cases because they want to use it in
Mm,
their like support. Right now, I'm not sure. Maybe in 2 months, I will work only with organizations who do mostly support. I don't know right
mhm.
now. It's too early to say.
Yes. Well, and that's interesting. It would definitely work in that case. That is also a different persona. Right now, I would say your
Yeah,
users are more sales reps.
yeah,
I'm
mostly
curious.
sales.
I'm curious when folks reach out though. Are the buyers um are they the reps themselves, or are you talking more with admins that are investigating solutions to benefit the sales reps who ultimately will be your users?
So before like maybe last week, I was trying to approach only admins.
Hmm.
Uh, Nowadays, and this week, I'm trying to also work with revenue officers who are responsible for revenue because this DealScope tool, it for sure will help you to generate more revenue. So I put a lot of bet on those personas, chief
Hmm.
revenue officers.
That makes sense. Plus, CROs often uh, control a P&L or have a budget that they're responsible for, right?
Yeah, and this also
And
like
so,
what I discovered from my cast dev interviews. You can also ask questions about what can admin purchase without getting some approvals. And in many cases, it was so I would say 15,000 per year. Oh, sorry, 1,500 per year. They can like buy without any approvals.
hmm. Gotcha. So that kind of drove kind of the ceiling for what you were looking at because you're trying to keep the friction as low as possible for the onboarding.
Yes, 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 yes.
Makes sense. Okay, well, so I'm curious now, like, you said you're getting a lot of requests to build things out for like server side. I'm
Hmm.
curious, like, where you see the next steps are. Gosh, it's amazing that you're only a month and a half in, but I think I need to get used to this with the AI world. People are going to be moving so much faster that maybe my guests will be earlier and earlier in their journey, but seem further and further along, like you. But what do you think
As I
the next
told,
month and a half holds?
as I told, it was my advantage that I have technical background. So maybe for someone still with these AI tools, it's still longer because AI can create a lot of mess for you if you will
That's
not
true.
control this. So the next thing I will try to not like expand the scope. I will try to probably to just make what I have now working uh, as best as possible to like have like very good summaries aiming to the point to make people really love this product.
That's great. Well, we should probably start wrapping up soon. But before we do, I did want to ask you a question on the topic of balance. So
Yeah.
I know that obviously you're working on DealScope
Mhm.
through Conan X Solutions,
Yeah.
but you're also CTO of Engineerasoft. And I'm curious how you manage your time between all these different roles. I mean, you're a one man shop running an entire
Mhm.
business, but you're also have a CTO kind of day job.
So of course you have like you cannot have more than 24 hours per day. So you just decide where your priority is. So initially when I started, it was like 1 hour for the scope for deal scope. It was some researchers. Then I'm just pulling my hours from engineer soft and put more and more and more to the deal scope because I see here a huge perspective. Maybe at the end, I will totally be concentrated on the deal scope. Maybe even after 1 month.
Wow, very cool. Yeah, I just wanted to ask that because I'm sure that there are other listeners and viewers out there that have a day job and they have
hmm
dreams of maybe starting a Salesforce ISC, but they're not
hmm
sure it's possible to balance both. But I think you're evidence to the contrary.
So the most important part is not to build the product, is to build the right product. And to build the right product, you need to speak with people. And to speak with people, you do not need to dedicate like 8 hours per day. You can have like one conversation per week, and it will help you to understand are you like moving to the right direction or not. Because if you like start creating your product over nights and nights and then you launch it and no one will show up, you'll be disappointed at least. So
Sure.
first it's better to speak with people and it will help you to balance your time. You will understand where to put your priorities.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love that. Before we close, do you have any other final bits of advice or tips you'd share with someone else who's really early in the journey, or perhaps even just in the idea phase?
So if you're hesitating about like to start or not, please reach out to me. I can discuss your idea. We can brainstorm it, and I will help you to understand what you can do next. Uh, I like to like support people in their advantages because I know like many persons, my friends, for instance, they like have this list with ideas, with 10 or
Hmm.
like 8 ideas, and that's great that they show these lists. But next step is to pick something from this list and try to implement it. So if you can pick something from this list, please reach out to me and I'll try to help you at least with what I can.
I love that. You mentioned earlier in the conversation how much the community has been helpful to you. So it's nice to hear you paying that
Yeah,
forward.
that's
So
why
if
I
somebody
appreciate your podcast. That's
Well,
very
good. I'm glad. I'm glad. If there's anyone listening that wants to take you up on that, or perhaps just wants to learn more about DealScope, what's the best way that they can reach out to you or learn more about the app?
just visit dscopeai.com and you can like send me an email from there. Yeah, we have contact form there. So yeah, please go ahead and go to website, and I'll be very happy if you, after listening to this podcast, will go to this website and launch the YouTube demo to just get to understand how it looks like, and it will like help me a lot.
Awesome. Well, I'll definitely link that site up in the show notes. Pavel, really appreciate you coming on today. Thank you so much for sharing
Thank
all
you, Scott.
these
Very
words of
happy to be
wisdom.
here.
Best of luck to you in DealScope. I can't. Only a month and a half in. I'm really looking forward to seeing where you go from here.
Thank you so much.
All right. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.